At InDigital, we know the public safety professionals hold themselves to a high standard. In fact, standard doesn't do it justice. In over 25 years working alongside you, carrying millions of calls over our IP networks, your dedication has inspired us. That's why our ESI Net goes beyond industry standards, not only I3 compliant, but designed to adapt to future development for a network you can count on when it matters most. Learn more at indigital.net.
It is a new day for 911 professionals. They have gone from the most important person you will never see to the most vital piece of public safety. Truth be told, they always have been. The curtain has been pulled back, and they are sharing their stories. Welcome to Imagine Listening. Your Worst Day is Our Everyday by Ricardo Martinez II, and narrated by myself, Ricardo Martinez II, and distributed by Beacon Audio Books. Copyright 2023. That's right, everyone. Finally, I can let everyone know the rumors are true. Imagine Listening, Your Worst Day is Our Everyday is now available as an audiobook on Audible, and it's a long time coming. Very excited. Not a lot of authors get the opportunity to voice their own book, but I had the honor and privilege to do so. So thank you to Beacon Audio Books, as well as my publisher, Titled Town Publishing, for everything, but especially all of you for making the I Am 911 movement, as well as Imagine Listening, what it is today. I appreciate you all more than you know. So go ahead, head out, stream it, download it, however you consume your audiobooks. Imagine Listening is now available. If Within the Trenches has ever taught you something, open your eyes to what it is like to be a 911 dispatcher, or has inspired you to become one, then help support us and join our Patreon. Get exclusive bonus content, one-of-a-kind swag, discounts on merchandise, ad-free early access to new episodes, and much more. To join, please visit patreon.com/WTT podcast. And if you're an industry partner, we have something for you as well. And now, for the show.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo of the Code 7 Podcast Network, and we're about to get started here with Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This episode is sponsored by InDigital, a leader next-gen core services, and big shout out to subscribers of the podcast. Thank you for everything, and we're going to go ahead and just jump right in because we were already laughing. So this is going to be fun. I'm here with Rich. He's a dispatch supervisor out of Eaton County Central Dispatch, and he has about 18 years worth of dispatch experience, but also was an MP. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here. I've listened to your podcast and seen you at conferences all over the country and all over the state. So it's nice to not only see you there, but to see you in our little humble dispatch center.
I am honored to be here. This has been really cool. I was telling Kelly earlier that when I made the turn through this crazy fog that you guys had, where I mentioned to Libby that I was waiting for vampires or zombies to come out of the fog, and it turns out that all of that is cornfield. So I made mention of the children of the corn as well. So
yeah, exactly.
it just coming in here though, everything is set up almost exactly the way my dispatch center is in Allegan. Oh. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
It's on a long path. And even to the point of where animal control is and the juvenile detention center, it's just on the opposite side of the road. But it's all the way at the end, and dispatch was the exact same thing, but on different sides. And I was kind of freaking out a little bit as I was driving in. I was like, where the hell am I? Like, this is like being back in Alex.
It feels
It's
like
being at
deja
home.
vu a little bit, right?
Right. It was the weirdest
Good.
thing.
We have a shift for you to cover tonight, if you don't mind.
You know what? I'm all about it. Yeah, let's do it. I hear there's a little bit of overtime every so often, so I'm down. Like, I can do it. You can throw me on it. I'm pretty sure I know the CAD system and stuff too. It's all good. So, how did you get started in public safety to begin with?
Like you said, I've been doing this about 18 years now, and I got into it later in life. I was in my late 30s, and I was managing some rental properties that I owned, and I was going to the courthouse to do some legal work, and absentmindedly got off the elevator on the wrong floor. And I looked up, and there was a poster as soon as I got off the elevator that said, "Do you have what it takes to be a 911 dispatcher?" And I read down through there, and I thought, yeah, I could probably pull that off. And then it got down to the benefits and all of those kinds of things. And I was self-employed, and I really thought I was only going to do this for a short period of time. And 18 years later, I'm still here for that quote short period of time. So applied, went through the whole testing thing, and got the call back, and have been doing it ever since.
What was the testing like?
It wasn't tough. Only I think later in life, maybe when you're 20, I don't know. I didn't start at that age, but later in life, as an adult learner, it was a lot to grasp. Fortunately, our training program is pretty segmented out, so it kind of a building block system that they had worked through, and it made it easier, I think, to do it even as an adult learner. Not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but the building block part of it really made sense to me. And I had been a military police officer before, so I was familiar with radios and lean and some things like that. So that part was good, but the technology obviously is, ever changing for us. So
was there a typing test involved at all?
There was a typing test. Yeah, there was a typing test, and you had to listen to recordings and type, like VINs and ops numbers off a driver's license and things like that. So I'd been practicing. I bought a program to help me practice that kind of thing. And yeah, fortunately, it worked. So
the reason I ask about the typing test is because when I was trying to get into the last center that I was in, I applied at another center at the same time. And one of those tests was a typing test. And I think you only had to be able to type 25 words per minute. And I thought, I can do that. That'll be easy peasy, man.
That's hunt and peck, right?
Right. Well, so you got me there with the hunt and peck. But because I had this confidence, I was like, I'm just going to type it and I'll be fine. Here's the thing. I did pass the test. However, you could only get 3 mistakes. And so I'm typing, thinking I'm cool. I get the first mistake. I'm like, okay, no, you're fine. Just keep going. And then I went to hit backspace on something, and the backspace is counted as a mistake.
It's counted as a mistake, yeah.
Yes. So now I'm freaking out, and I'm sweating, and I went to the hunt and peck. So I'm going. Yep. And I got through the whole thing, and they're like, you passed. You only had 2 wrong. Was everything all right? I was like, I was overconfident. That's all.
That's all. I way overestimated my abilities in this one.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I was asking about the typing test to see if it was similar at all, because with that one, I mean, they said you only get 3 mistakes. And I thought, well, that should be easy enough. And
I could do
almost lost it there.
Yeah, it's tricky. And I think being late 30s when I did it, I think it has been pretty eye-opening to see young people come through.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like for a long time we had a really good people typed. I had a typing class a million years ago in school, and I don't think people have that as much anymore in high school. So I think it's a different skill set. And we've kind of had to adjust a little bit here and there to try to, kind of tailor it a little bit.
Yeah. When I was in school, we had keyboarding. And even though it was keyboarding, we still had the big ass typewriter, and we had to learn the margins and everything. I was like, I thought this was keyboarding. We're like, you'll get to that part, but you need to learn the basics, like the foundation, like where all of this started first. And I'm glad that I had the opportunity to do that, because it helped me out later on in life.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's a
Especially-
good skill set. It really
Right.
is.
Especially when you think about different CAD systems. And we had the AS400, which was a black screen with just green,
DOS looking.
DOS.
Yeah.
Yep, that's all it really
Yep.
was. But the crazy thing about that though was that you really need to memorize everything to be like super fast, and also if you didn't have the right incident type, or if you didn't have the right township code or ORI or whatever, the complaint wouldn't go in. And you've got the other person on the other side on radio saying, put it in already.
Get it in
put
already.
it in.
Come on, hurry up. What are you doing over there? This is not that hard.
Right. So then when we upgraded later on, it helped to have that experience as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So you end up going through that. You get the testing, you go through the interview and such, and you start going into training. So what was the training like for you then?
We have it divided up into different skill sets, different disciplines. So as you progress, you'll go from lean and call taking to like police dispatching, and then you go into fire and EMS, and then at the end we have what we call a shadow phase, where your trainer kind of turns you loose, but you're graded on how well you do, and that's the final phase. So by that point in your training, you're pretty confident, and you've spent months trying to gather these skills. But after you've wanted so long, because you're tethered to a trainer for a long
the
point.
umbilical cord. Yes.
Yeah, and you're so excited about getting on your own, and then they say, okay, you're in shadow, so I'm not going to correct you or help you. You can ask the room, but so the thing that you think you've wanted all this time, to be detached and be autonomous a little bit, when they say that, you think, I don't think I'm ready. Are you sure? Are we sure on this? But obviously
Yes.
you are. So yeah, it was good. It was really good. People are patient,
Mhm.
and I did well, but it's fun to watch people now get through the process, and you can kind of see them grow and develop and gain those skills. So
Was there anything when you first started that I don't know, that maybe surprised you a little bit, because you had all of this other experience coming in. Now you're coming into this profession. When you walk in the door, like right there in the beginning, I mean, were you overwhelmed at all? Did you have those moments where you thought, I don't know if I am going to be able to do this?
I'll tell you, here's what I thought, right? I'd never been in a dispatch center.
Mhm.
I walked in, they say, hey, you should come in and do a sit along and kind of get a look around. I walked in the first day, and I expected a sea of people, almost like NASA, in like chrome jumpsuits. I don't know why I thought they'd all be wearing chrome jumpsuits, right? Maybe it's a thing. I don't know. But I walked in and I said, where are the rest of them? And this person who'd been here, 20 years, he said to me, this is it. There's no more. We're all there is left. And I was like, holy crap.
It's the apocalypse.
I know. I was like, oh my God. And then he kind of laughed and said, no, this is it. This is it. You'll see. It's enough most days. But yeah, I thought somehow I had in my mind it was more NASA-ish. So I'm still pushing for chrome jumpsuits, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh man, I can just imagine that first person. It reminds me of my first trainer when I first started out in Central Florida. His name was Harry, very seasoned dispatcher, I'll say.
Sure.
Maybe slightly crusty, but he was awesome, man. And he showed me, the ropes. He showed me everything. That first night though that I was in dispatch. So let me back up a little bit. When I found out I was getting the job, the chief of police showed up at my house, and my grandmother woke me up, and I was napping. She woke me up. She was yelling at me in Spanish, telling me that the police are here, and then asked, what did you do? And I was like, I didn't do anything. She tells me to go outside. I go to check, and the chief goes, I just wanted to see if you wanted the job. And I said,
Came to your house?
Yeah, he came to my house.
You?
Yeah, because I just lived down the road from the police department. Yeah. And he comes to the house, and I said yes. And I asked what happened, because I hadn't heard from them for about 2 months or so. And he goes, well, extensive background check. That's all that was. And I said, so when do I start? And he goes, well, you start tonight. And I said, like, tonight?
Like tonight?
Yeah. And he goes, "Do you want the job, right?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I do, but I thought I was going to be starting next week or something." He goes, "No, you start tonight." So I go in, Harry shows me everything, and he takes that first 911 call, and then he looks at me and he goes, "All right, now you're next." And that's exactly what I was doing, the same thing. I was kind of chuckling, and
Happy
then
Thursday.
right, but then he is just staring at me like my dad would stare at me if I did something wrong, and he's about to scold me or whatever. And I said, "Are you for real?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "This is how you learn, is by on the job." He goes, "In order to do this job, you have to have thick skin, you have to have common sense, and you have to be human." He goes, "This is how you're going to learn." So I'm sweating the whole time,
Oh,
freaking out, waiting for that first
yeah.
call. And then it comes in. And thank the Lord it was a butt dial. That's
Oh my gosh.
that's all
Never
it
so
was.
happy, right? The
Oh, I was
scourge of
super,
911.
super happy. Yeah. But the following week I did have a 40-hour beginners like training course that I did. But it was definitely, eye-opening and such. So, going back to you here, now you've gone through your training and everything, right? You've gone through your phases and you're starting to take these calls. Is it nerve-wracking? Is there what thoughts are going through your mind while you're taking these calls?
It is. I think for all of us who do this job, I think there's always a desire to really do a good job, that we understand the importance of what we do and the magnitude of what it is that we do. And I think oftentimes it's easy to get, when you're brand new especially, but it's easy to get in your head about how important this job is, and that you really you don't want to screw it up. This is important stuff. But fortunately we had lots of good training and people on our shift who were always very accommodating, very understanding. So if you took a call that maybe you didn't do great on, there was always somebody who would say, "Hey, nice job on this and this, but next time you might want to think about this." And you think, "Oh, okay." And you make a middle note. And so now that I've been doing it for a long time and I see new people come in, I try to keep that in mind, that this is all brand new. Most of this is so foreign to people coming in off the street to do this job, that what seems common sense for us took 18 or 20 years of experience to get. Common sense may not be as common to everybody as what I think it is. So those gentle reminders, "Hey, nice job on this, but try to keep in mind this, and what were you picturing when you asked this question?" That kind of thing. So I think having good people kind of lead you and coach you in those ways to ask questions and things to follow up on really set a good foundation for not just doing the job, but doing it and being kind in the process. So
Was there anything in the beginning? Because you mentioned earlier that you you literally saw the sign.
I saw a
you
sign.
saw this poster.
I saw a sign.
Yeah,
Yes.
you had this
It
moment
was
where you were
rather, angelic. Oh, there was no light, but I knew it was there.
yeah,
So-
you had this moment. You felt as though you were, maybe going to do it for a couple of years or whatever,
Sure.
see how it goes. But obviously it got into your blood. I mean, it's 18 years and everything. Was there, a moment? Was there a call? Was there anything that just really made you think that you were home? Like this was where you were going to be?
Yeah, I have been really fortunate in my career to have specifically some very influential people, and specifically influential women, who have been helping in my career with advice or guidance. April Heinze works for Nina National now. April was our deputy director when I first hired in. And at one point, I remember going into her office and saying, "I don't see a career path for me to get beyond dispatch." And she said, "Well, I think there is. I think you just have to wait a little bit." And I was eager and anxious, and I said, I just, not that what we do is not important, but I'd like to move up. I'd like more responsibility. And she had been doing this a long time, and she said, "Oh, it'll come. Just give it a minute." And fortunately, I got promoted to a trainer which really kind of expands your horizon a little bit, refreshes some old skills maybe that you'd let kind of lapse a little bit. So it's nice to get re-enthused about it again. And just at the point when I thought, well, I think I'd like to do something more, we had an opening for a supervisor. So I test for the supervisor, and I get it. And April was the director then, and she said, I think I told you this was going to happen if you could just hang on a second. And so after that, I was a supervisor and got to do lots of neat stuff and training and stuff. I was at a training and a company here in Michigan called McEnloe and Associates. They do training for police, fire, courts, those kinds of things. And I was looking to do something more. And I approached Chris Kemp, one of the owners, and said, I don't know if you'd ever have an opening, but I think I'd like to maybe see about teaching. And we worked on things, and I got to write some classes, and I get to teach for McEnloe, and it was really good. And then we have a new director, Kelly Cunningham, who's now in our center. She was Michigan's Director of the Year last year for APCO, and went on to be the International Director of the Year, or as I like to call it, the Galactic Director of the Year. Kelly, when Kelly took over, we expanded our center in such a way that we have lots of different teams and different avenues that you can work in. So we have a tactical dispatch team. We have a peer support team. We have public relations, public education. So now not only do you get to be a trainer and dispatch and supervise and help other people in career paths, but now we have all of these other avenues and teams that you get to kind of expand as it works for you and as your skill set desires. So it's been really fortunate that I've had such nice people who have said, yeah, I think there might be something else. Just hang on a second. Let's see what we can do. And doors open and horizons expand. So,
Man. So just the way you were explaining April saying it, April, if you're watching,
yes.
Hello.
Yes.
You said it exactly the way I picture her saying that.
100%. Her office was right over there. And I remember walking in, and I don't know if you're like me, but I had these conversations in my head about how things are going to go. And I walk in and I say, I just don't see a path forward. And I think this is just it, and blah, blah, blah. And she just gives me that look, kind of like, oh, look at you. Oh,
That is,
oh.
Yep.
What she wanted to say was,
That's our April.
You're okay.
Yeah.
You're okay, little buddy. You're going to be fine. And I'm forever grateful, because I was like, well, there's nothing left here. I'm going to have to go change oil for some, I don't know. Got to have to, something. So she was like, oh, just wait a second. Let's just see.
Really quick, I've known April for years, since even when I was dispatching. We've known each other, and she calls me her little brother. I call her my sister and stuff. And when she left here, I don't know if I should say this because I'm here in the center where she was at, but I'm actually the one who plucked her out of here. When she left, and she went to go work for In Digital.
We have a list, and I think Ricardo just made the list. Well, look at that.
Yeah. I'd been talking to her. I was working with In Digital and stuff, and I had said, I said, I don't know where April is going, but I've been kind of talking to her, and it just kind of went from there. But it wasn't an easy thing. Like, I had been talking to her for a few years, actually, before she finally decided I'm ready. Because in the beginning it was, I would love that, I'm really flattered, but I'm not ready. There's a lot of stuff that I need to do here before I leave. And I think what's awesome about this as well is that when she finally did, and from what I hear, just being in here, everything that you guys do, she has left a legacy that all of you are continuing to take on, and leaving an even bigger legacy going on. And it just continues and continues. And it's no wonder just everyone that I've talked to just loves working here. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, this is awesome. You guys have a great team.
We do. And, back to the training thing, where where we worked building a good foundation for people, and then you build on top of that.
Mhm.
April was my first deputy director here and then became a director. And it feels like that's just a continuation of, okay, the training program has got a good foundation. We've got good people in place, good structure there. Okay, now let's build that out even further for our center. And fortunately, we've had good people along the way who have done that. Kelly, our current director, Galactic Director of the Year. I don't know if I mentioned that, but Kelly has expanded on that even further. So what we have now is not just a foundation for new people coming in. Our onboarding process is so much better than it ever was before. We ask you, bring your family in. We want them to see where you work. It's a family-friendly environment. We help you get on board. We're very conscious of this is different for you, and we want to make sure that we get you started on the right path, and we're going to do everything we can to help you. We give you shirts and cups and welcomes and, all the things that we would want when we started all of those years ago. Now we have a foundation to where we have the resources and the skill sets to be able to keep people at least engaged to see if this is a career for them or not.
So before I ask you my next question, I have to ask a question to Kelly, who's actually sitting right over here. How many openings do you have?
Just one.
Just one.
Because I kind of feel like everything that is being said now, I mean, this is, you could be recruiting from this as well.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
And I'd like to add, we added 2 additional spots. So that is from our additional spots that
Mhm.
were approved by our Board of Commission.
Man.
Yeah.
Just an excellent
So if you've
all-around
considered
place.
a career in 911, go to the website, fill out the application, and join our team. I'm kidding.
He was on radio as well. So, right.
So,
you
yeah,
were on
yeah.
radio for a while?
Yeah. I worked in radio and so
PSAs.
yeah.
So out of the 18 years and everything, I do want to touch on, some of the calls, maybe if you remember any of those calls. But first, in the 18 years, how has the technology changed from the beginning to now?
Wow. It has really exponentially, because I thought I was under the misconception that once I got in the door, that's it. I'm good. It just continues to evolve. There's new products. There's new ways to track people's location. There's more updated information. It is ever evolving and ever changing. And in one regard, that feels for somebody who's now pretty senior in the building, that feels like, oh my gosh, I don't want to learn another program, but it keeps you sharp. It keeps you enthused and engaged that this is a job that you don't get the opportunity to rest on your laurels. I learned a system and that's how it's going to be until I'm done. It's ever evolving and ever changing. And I think that helps keep you sharp, not just for here, but in lots of different areas of your life.
I feel like it's for refreshing in a way as well. And also it's about time,
Right.
because I remember towards the end of my dispatch career, we didn't have anything where you could, locate folks easy enough the way,
Mhm.
it is now. I mean, it's not completely perfect, right? Nothing is, but it's way better than what it was
Way better.
when I was at the end, 2012, 2013, where we were talking about this earlier, where, you have someone on a cell phone who doesn't know where they're at, and you can't find their location, whichever, and you still have to fax. Like the way it was done was you would have to fax information or get a fax from any of those cell carriers to try to ping where the person is at.
Yeah.
And there's this big old process, but also the mental health aspect of it as well, where I remember there were times where I would take a phone call from someone who didn't know where they were at. They might have been in, let's just say, like a game area or something, for example, and we couldn't get their location. And then we lose the call and there's no other way to find them. So then now at the end of the shift, because there's nothing else, we've exhausted all resources. I'm driving home in silence because I'm wondering, I hope that person ended up being okay.
Yeah. I hope we got enough. This is such a unique profession in that over the years, we continue to add tools into our toolbox to be able to help people who don't know where they are. with all the technology that we have, Rapid SOS, Prepared Live, What 3 Words, we have lots of tools that we can help find where you are. Even if you don't know where you are, we're going to be able to get to you. We're going to be able to figure out where you are and get you the help that you need. And it is ever evolving, and technology is changing rapidly, but it's changing for the good. So
thinking back on these 18 years and the fact that you do training as well, what are some of the calls that you use during this training, whether it be yours or others that are out there?
In teaching for Mac and Lone Associates, we have lots of different classes. A lot of my focus has been on active shooters. So for about the past decade, I've researched and written classes on active shooter events. As of recently, we've changed to the changing face of the active shooter. What used to be a standard white male, early 20s, late teens, kind of a loner, we've seen a morphing into transgender, to people of color, older, veterans. Like the gamut has changed. So the profile of what we would have called someone who would fit a profile of an active shooter has changed so dramatically that it's something that we train on, things to be aware, things to watch out for. We have classes on the psychology behind school shooters. We look at the opioid epidemic and how it's affected dispatch. Just a variety of things. As the climate changes, we end up with new classes and new topics to research and discuss. We have a new class coming out later in the spring on swatting. What a big impact that's having on a lot of dispatch centers and a lot of police departments. So it's an ever evolving, as people learn more about how we do what we do, it just continues to expand. So
how do you pull in your own life experience or any of those that you've dealt with? Like for me, whenever I've gone to a training or to listen to someone speak, the thing that gets me the most is when someone shares a piece of themselves, because I kind of see myself in those speakers. It might not be the same situation, but those emotions, you know, the story, those little pieces that really pull at the heartstring, it's because they're sharing a part of themselves. So for you, with everything that you do, how do you share part of yourself with that?
I think I have a unique perspective as somebody who was a military police officer, worked the road. I lived in Europe for a long time. I was an accident investigator on the Autobahn, worked the road, those kinds of things. So I see these calls from both sides of the radio, which I think gives me a different perspective on what the road wants versus what we can provide from our location inside dispatch. And you have to find some marriage to get those two to meet up. And I think once you learn that balance, it really helps you deliver a better product, for lack of a better word, when we're dispatching or when we're call taking. I think we've had lots of experiences here. We've taken lots of calls from the whole gamut of things. And I think those little bits and pieces that you get from your own experience and then talking with people who have done this job for years, I think you glean those stories, just like what you do in your podcast. You glean information and experiences from other people, and you incorporate that into something that you can maybe regurgitate back to people in a concise manner that gives insight into really what it is we do.
So as you reflect a little bit on, as we've been talking, you know, about your experience over all these years, how do you feel that the profession has kind of changed you?
I think that my wife would probably say that it's not always for the best, I guess. I have a really short commute. I'm fortunate. I live close to our center. So we joke that during the spring and summer, I can ride my bicycle to work. I'm that close. If I drive, I get to pick one song. That's how quick. It's 4.5 minutes for me to drive here. So I think I miss a little bit of the decompression time from leaving work to arriving home because I'm home before the car warms up.
Mhm.
So I think I've really taken to heart when she says to me, "Oh, you have a day off today. Let's go grocery shopping together." We don't get to do that very often, and I'm comfortable enough with her and myself to say, "I appreciate that, but I think I'd just rather stay here if you don't mind." And to her credit, she'll say, "Okay," and hop in the car and go. Now, I think maybe she asked me partly because she wanted me to go and partly because she was praying that I would just say, "No, thanks, you go by yourself." So either way, it works out for both of us. But I think it has I think it gives you a different perspective on stuff. I think it's fairly easy to be pretty jaded by the profession because we hear literally the worst of the worst day after day after day. But I think it also gives you an opportunity to reshape your thinking and how you look at people with different problems and different situations. So there's a quote from Abraham Lincoln that says, "When I do good, I feel good. And when I do bad, I feel bad. And that's my religion." And I think you can take either side of that and really make it your own. If you want to look for the negative in every caller or every responder that you talk to on the radio, I think it's very easy to get jaded by it. But I think when you consciously decide that I'm going to choose the best that I can be today and assume the best in people, I think it frees you up to be a better person than probably what you would have been otherwise. So,
Damn. I don't think that I've ever had anyone on here quote Lincoln before. That
really?
was
That's a first?
well done.
Ding, ding. All right. Put that down.
So before we go into the wrap up of this episode, I do need to ask just a couple more questions. Sure. Tell me, what is Flat Kelly?
Oh, Flat Kelly it's legendary, really. I don't know if I told you, Kelly is the intergalactic director of the year, right? That's the whole known universe to you and I. So when Kelly went to receive this very deserving award, they had these big, giant poster, for lack of a better word, of her. Giant. And we were texting while she was down there, and I said, "Hey, I would really love it if you would bring back Poster Kelly," because everybody was chatting about it, and we thought it was all really funny. And Libby, one of our other supervisors, said, "Yeah, I'm bringing back Flat Kelly. You just hang on." And it's here in the building, and it's gigantic. It's huge, right? Oh
my Lord!
Here it
Look
is.
At that.
A little closer.
We're gonna have to. Kelly? Can you take a picture or even video of this, because the internet. Something happened to the internet, so the camera's not even going right now. But we're recording the audio at least.
Yeah, that's
Look
it
at
right
this.
there.
So for those who are watching and listening right now, I will make sure to splice this in.
This is Flat Kelly. So the International Intergalactic Director of the Year. So
that is amazing.
Yeah. Is that beautiful?
That is amazing.
Oh, how big that thing is. And every time we bring it out, she's like, "Guys, put that away, please. Can we not with this thing?"
That is one of the coolest things ever. Thank you.
So good.
Well, man, it has been awesome to have you on and hear your story and your process, but also, your mindset really on all of this and what all of you are doing here. But to have, a lot of you with the same mindset of how you do your training, how you want to leave, some sort of legacy or whatever, especially for those who are coming in, it is just very awesome and powerful to hear that. And I see why people love this place. I mean, just really the environment itself. I mean, it's awesome. So as we go into the wrap up of this episode, for you, your 18 years, thinking about all of this time that you've had in public safety, if you could go back in time to when you started out in the beginning with the knowledge that you have now, what advice would you give yourself?
I would probably say to myself, find a place that fits you. I've been fortunate. We are fortunate here with Flat Kelly and real Kelly, but we have been fortunate because Kelly shares our vision. We
Yeah.
share Kelly's vision of what our center can be. And I think when you have someone who casts a big enough vision and says, I think that this center can be different, not better, not worse, but we're going to take a different approach to how we treat each other, how we treat our responders, the people that call, the courts that we work with, our jail, youth facility, our animal control, how we respond to the public. When we have a vision that says this is the expectation that I want all of us to capture, not just for their sake, for people on the outside of this building, but for your own sake. At the end of your career, you don't want to look back over 25 years or 20 or whatever you spend in this. You don't want to look back and think, I just really was miserable that whole time. And I think when you have an expectation set by your leadership that says, we're better than this and you're better than this, and I want to give you all of the tools to get you from where you are today to where you think you want to end up, and I'm going to help you get there. You and I are going to get you there. And I don't know how they do it. Francis DeVetter, our deputy director, and Kelly work hand in hand, but there is such a good atmosphere here that people really have taken ownership of not just their part of this center, but as the center as a whole. So if you're on public relations team, it's a really important job. We want you to be able to articulate what it is we do and why we do what we do. If you're part of our tactical dispatch team or you're part of our peer support, whatever role you play in our building, that's a big deal. And we really look at each other as family. Not that we don't have disagreements or difference of opinions, but when we're all moving forward with the same vision and the same goal in mind, I think it's easier for us to help each other along. Like, hey, you might be struggling in this. Let me see if I can help you.
Yeah.
Because I've been helped in this area. I felt the way you feel. We've said it a million times. We all are trying to get to the end of this healthy and happy, and we do a good job and we make a nice living. But really at the end of the day, if we don't have a direction that we're going to, we're probably never going to get there. So fortunate for us, we have leaders who are very vision focused, and it makes following much easier. So,
Damn. Perfect.
Yeah. How's your mom, by the way? How's your mom?
She's good.
Is she good? Can we say hi to her?
Yeah, we can say hi. Yeah.
Hi, Mom. How
Hello,
you doing?
Mom.
Hey.
She'll be commenting later.
Excellent. Good.
Well, again, thank you so much for being on. This has been awesome. It's been awesome being here and all. And for those who are listening, because something happened with the internet, so it cut off the video part of it, but the audio is still going. So that all works out. So for those who are watching a black screen, but also listening right now, if you have any comments, questions, or you ever want to be a guest on the show, you can email us, and that's going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that is wttpodcast@gmail.com. And this broadcast has been sponsored by In Digital, a leader Next Gen Core Services. Big shout out to all of the subscribers. Thank you so very much. Also, for everything, you can simply go to links.co/WTT podcast, and that's links with 2 i's.co/WTT podcast. You can find everything there: email, social media, the latest episode, where to buy Imagine Listening, where to pre-order book number 2, but also get it on Audible, the first book. I had the honor and privilege of being able to voice the book, so that was excellent. Make sure to check that one out as well. And then you can also go there to become a subscriber or to get any dispatch merchandise or podcast merchandise. You can see this on Facebook, YouTube, as well as X and LinkedIn Live, and you can listen 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you in the next one.